Welcome into My Sweet Home Living. Today I'm going to show you how you can DIY your own Quilt Star sweatshirt for a gift for yourself. But today's theme is all about Christmas and Santa's workshop. So you'll get me for a full hour today and all day long today in the Craft on the Clock group and in the Creatives Depot group on Facebook. You can find all of the 1 hour live shows today. And each hour you will get a new Santa's workshop themed project that you can probably create on your own. I hope that we're working. Good morning, Miss Karen. How are you? You're the first name that popped up that's watching. It's early, and I had just about forgotten what today was. I've gotten all kind of caught up in all of the things that are going on during the holiday season. But this is one of the projects that's been on my to-do list for quite some time. I have not made it before, so I'm a newbie at this type of project. I hope that may inspire you if you are a newbie at creating this project that I'm going to show you today, that no matter what your experience level is to give it a try. You never know until you try. Just the motto of Miss Shar, and Miss Shar and Lisa are the two amazing ladies that are putting together this event today for you all to enjoy. So I'm so excited. You all know that I'm kind of like in my fabric era, if you will. I enjoy using fabric to create things, and doesn't always mean that I'm sewing necessarily, but today we're doing just a little bit of sewing. But don't let that intimidate you. Hopefully, I'm giving you some ideas today where you can think outside of your box. Okay, I had a phone call come in. Sorry about that. Good morning, Miss Shayna. How are you? You love your Timmy the Mouse. Oh, good. They're still going out. I have my last set that I'm going to take to the post office here this morning. So, all of them will be shipped out. They are taking a little bit longer, even once they're shipped. It seems like they're taking a little bit longer to be delivered. And I know that's just the way the mail system is working right now. Good morning, Miss Esmeralda from Lovett's Garden, which, by the way, I am using some of your beautiful fabrics today. Thank you so much. Good morning, Miss Brenda Carrie Ann. We are going to attempt, okay? We're going to attempt. I'm just putting that out there that I have never made what I'm making before. Never. I have seen some darling examples of them. I've seen other creators make them, but I've never made them. So I'm so excited to be making them with you all today. I'm going to be able to see your comments from here and there and all the places today, because sometimes our comments stop working. Now, let me tell you something. If you're watching this replay on YouTube later, my videos are best viewed by using the YouTube app. Okay, the YouTube app allows you to see and watch my videos vertical and up close at the same time. Okay, so want to be sure that you're able to see everything that I'm showing today. Yes, Miss Pammy, yes. I don't think I ever anticipated that to be on my credentials list, is maker of almost 1,000 mice. Oh my gracious, you all just showed up and showed out, and I'm so blessed and grateful. All right, what we're going to be using as the base of our Christmas quilted sweatshirt today is, of course, a sweatshirt. Now, you can find just solid colored sweatshirts in, all kinds of places, and they don't have to be really expensive, okay? Just pick a color that's going to coordinate with some of the fabrics that you may be using as well, which I'm just going for red or green, which is kind of one of the reasons why I wore this red sweatshirt. How adorable is this? This came from Walmart a couple years ago, but it has, I don't know if you all can see that. Let me just, no. It has a little quilted little shoulder area with a little bit of ruffle, but this is a sweatshirt from Walmart. Now, this one, I'm not going to be using this one today for today's project, but I do want to show you some of the sweatshirts that I grabbed from Walmart this year in case you want to do the same. I just grabbed a red and a green because I'm going to be making multiples of these, hopefully, if they turn out. Yes, the YouTube app does help so much. Okay, let me cut this tag off. These are from Walmart. They said sweatshirt. Now, when I feel of these almost feel like that, I can't think of the name of it, those blankets that are just so soft and cozy. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But this is the green. Of course, it's been folded up and they shrink wrap them, so it's kind of wrinkly, okay? But that's a beautiful Christmas color if you're going with Christmas fabrics. Now, the project idea that I'm sharing with you today, of course, you can modify it for anything, any color theme you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas. Just use the same process and the same idea that I'm going to share with you today for whatever fabrics you choose. You will only need a minimum of 2 different patterns or fabrics, if you will. You can change them up and add more. Yes, it kind of is like fleece, only it's really thin. But I got 2 red and 2 green, and I wore one of them last week, and it almost feels like, I'm kind of funny because I don't like to wear heavy sweatshirts because it kind of makes me warm. I'm kind of in my hot-natured phase of life. You know what I mean? So I don't like anything super heavy and like chunky, clunky, but this is really thin, and it almost like, it gives you warmth without being hot, if that makes any sense. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's so comfy and it doesn't crawl all over you. Good morning, thank you. It doesn't say, let me look at the tag and see. I grabbed these on Walmart's website. It says it's 95% polyester and 5% spandex, okay? It says, let's see, it says hang dry though. It does not, you do not want to dry it. But we're going to sew a Christmas quilted star on the front of this with some beautiful fabrics. I am funny about that too, Miss Kim. It's breathable. I wore it all day long, one day last week. And that's saying something, because a lot of times, sometimes I don't even like long sleeves sometimes, because when I'm working around the house or I'm busy doing things, I just get warm and I end up changing it before too long. Your cousin did a fall quilt patch on a sweatshirt. It was a star pattern. Oh, good. I have seen them so many places. Yes, these I think were like $12-ish, $12.99 maybe, something like that. But Moshu is what it says on the tag, M-O-S-H-U. I don't remember it saying that on the description. I just searched ladies sweatshirt on Walmart. And these pulled up, and there's tons of different color choices and options. You could also do this on a t-shirt. Okay, you could also, which I think would be absolutely darling, which I might eventually do, I think this would be adorable on the back of a denim shirt. Yes, I think so too. Right, Lana? Yes, I get you. So I'm going to set these over on the side for just a minute. And what I'm going to show you next is kind of how my thought process has worked through this morning. Like I said, I kind of had hoped to have maybe one ready, kind of show as an example. No, that didn't work out. Some of you all know that follow me. I am kind of in the middle of reorganizing my craft room. And so I kind of had to keep somewhat simple. So I didn't have a lot of prep time to get it going. Good morning, Miss Lori. You like the thinner sweatshirts too? Good. Well, I think you'll like these. They're kind of a good weight that they lay well on. You know, they wear pretty, but they're not overly heavy and warm. Yes, that's it. That's what it says, the brand. I can share the link with you later on my Telegram channel or broadcast channel. Yes, it's kind of a buttery knit. You're exactly right. That's a great way to explain it. Okay, so let's hop right into this, and I'll walk you through the process. I am going to be using my sewing machine today, but I don't want that to deter you from giving this project a try, okay? There are other ways that you can attach this quilt star pattern to your shirts without using a sewing machine, okay? Is it the best and probably more secure way to keeping it on there? Yes. If you have a sewing machine tucked away in your closet collecting dust, I hope to inspire you to get it out and get it working again. Okay. If this works out, I kind of would like to make a couple of these as gifts. And that was my thinking of behind selecting today's project for this Santa's workshop theme day that we're having over in the Craft on the Clock and Creatives Depot group. But this will be an hour long. You get me for a full hour today. Is that fun or what? So I thought, well, it's no better time to give it a try. Santa's Workshop is all about creating gifts and things that are pretty and special. So hopefully that will fit all of those elements today. So come on in and join me. Hi, Miss Irma and Donna. Y'all are up early this morning. I'm so excited. I have already done a little bit of prep cutting, which I will say, cutting is like my least favorite part of sewing projects. Good morning, Miss Sonia. Hi, Lizzie. Hi, Lisa. Just got a new one and started sewing again. Yes, I'm so excited, Miss Lori. Oh, I'm so excited. That warms my heart. Okay, I have selected, like I said, you need a minimum of 2 fabrics that complement each other really well, and that also kind of tie in with the base color of your sweatshirt. Okay, thank you. I'll share the link with you on my broadcast channel and Telegram channels later today. I'll have to go and find it. It's on my Walmart app. And what I have selected here, which I'm going to use for the center of my star shape, in the center of your star shape, you need a square. And I am using a 6-inch square for my centerpiece, okay? You're going to need 1 6-inch square, and you're going to need several 3-inch squares. I don't know how many yet, but we'll get to that. So those are the sizes that I'll be using today. Big 6-inch square and several small 3-inch squares. For my center square, I was looking for a fabric that had some interest to it, that could kind of like be the star of the show, if you will. Good morning, Miss Elise. Okay, so this is the fabric that I have chosen, and this is from Miss Esmeralda at Lovett's Garden. I don't know if she will have any of this left. She probably doesn't, but you can shop her fabric sales and find something just as magical, or you may have something just as magical already in your fabric stashes. How many of you have a stash of fabric tucked away? Or if not you, how about maybe something that maybe you inherited, or maybe an old blanket, or anything that's fabric material. Look at that right there. Is that not amazing? This has several little scenes on it that would make for perfect little centerpiece. Look at that. Is that not so sweet? And I think there's one more little scene. So there's 3 different scenes. That one is so sweet. That will work perfect for the center of my quilt star. And so what I have done is I have grabbed a 6-inch quilter's template, okay? You can grab these at lots of fabric and material shops. Thank you so much, Miss Renee, for those stars. Oh, you make my heart so happy. And someone else has sent some stars too. Thank you so much. I missed who that was. I appreciate it. So these little quilt, what am I trying to say? Templates, cutter templates. I think that's what they're called. I grabbed this one at Hobby Lobby because I could not find the one that I already had naturally. A sewing ruler. I grabbed this at Hobby Lobby. All of their Fiskars things are on sale this week. Today's the last day for that, by the way. But you could just cut out a template with cardboard, measure it out if you want to. Or you could just free cut it, okay? There's no right or wrong way to do it, and there's multiple ways to do it, okay? But this is so neat and handy because you can see through it. I'm going to lower you down to the work surface so you can see, get a better look at what I'm seeing. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now, I'll be able to see over here what you're seeing. so that I can make sure that you're seeing everything as I'm working through it today. All right, this little ruler is clear, so it helps when you're selecting out you know, what part of your fabric or your scene that you want to cut out. Another handy tool that I will be using today is one of these rotary cutters, okay? Just like a pizza cutter almost. You don't have to use these tools. This is just what I have in my beginner sewing toolkits that I think are handy to have. And hey, it's Christmas time. If you're looking for a gift idea, if someone's needing a gift idea for you, this would be a great start if you're wanting to start your sewing collection of tools. So I'm just going to place this right over the seam that I want to cut. And you want to make sure you have a cutting mat under your fabric, okay? Because, you know, these rotary cutters, they cut right through and they will, you know, mark up anything that's underneath of your fabric, okay? So you're just going to cut along that edge to see how clean cut that edge was, and makes it so much easier to get straight lines. Now, if you don't get straight lines, that's okay. Sometimes it's a little easier to stand up rather than sitting, because you're able to put that pressure downward to cut through that fabric a little easier. I didn't quite get the corner all the way. Okay, now I got to go back up here and do the top. So I'm going to reach in front of the camera for just a second, so I apologize. Okay, there we go. Now, those rotary cutters, they do mean business, and they will get you in a hurry. So don't do what I just did in that last cut and put your hand on the edge in the direction that you're cutting. Okay, so this is my square, okay? Now, this ruler has a seam allowance, which we are not going to need. So this is actually a 6.5 inch square. So I would cut this down. I would cut a 1/4 inch off all sides so that this is a true 6 inch square, okay, which I have already done with this piece right here. All right, now this 6 inch square is just another seam from that same fabric. So if you've ever seen fabric that's, you know, has a big pattern to it and lots of interest to it, like this fabric that I'm using today, this is a perfect example. Like if I had seen this in a store and I would have thought, oh my gosh, that's beautiful, what can I make with it? If it has lots of little seams that would fit in your 6 inch squares, this will be perfect. I'm also going to be using this same fabric to be making another item in a future show. Probably, I don't know, this is Thanksgiving week coming up. I don't know if we'll get it done this week or next weekend, but it's coming up, so you'll want to tune in, and I'll let you know when I'm going to be working on that. Another gift giving idea, that is. Now I need some coordinating fabric that can sort of frame my quilt star, if you will. So I've pulled out some Christmas colored fabrics. These fabrics are from one of my sweet followers, Miss Mary Lou, that she sent me in a goodie box a couple of months ago. But I think either one of these colors would complement the colors that's in this centerpiece. But here's the real question is, would these colors work best on my green sweatshirt or my red sweatshirt? Let's see. Thank you, Miss Patty. You love the fabric. Miss Billy has sprinkled and shared this out. Thank you so much. Victoria, tell me about it. One day I was using mine and I almost took a finger. Oh my gosh. Oh yes, those rotary cutters, you've really kind of got to use extra caution with those. Let's lay this green up here and let's see what these colors look like on that. That is pretty darn cute. Now, I do think this color works better with this green than this. This green is a little bit off. Let's lay the red up here and let's just compare and figure out what we're doing. This red is pretty bright. Now, I do have an overhead light that's kind of making it maybe a little bit brighter on camera than it really is in person. But you can see this fabric does not quite coordinate quite as well. It doesn't complement. This is a little bit darker than this sweatshirt. Now this, on the other hand, I think would look nice. I think that would work. I think that would work really well. I will say, here's the thing. This little scene is not only Christmas feeling, but I think this also could work all winter long because I'm not seeing anything in here that screams Christmas per se. So that's a neat fact too. And that's another element that you might want to look for. I do really like this combination. But I feel like this green is my favorite. I feel like that. I like that. Let me look at that on camera just as you all are seeing. You love the combo mirror. You love the green Pammy. Brenda loves the red. Laurie loves the green. Like the green, Victoria. Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to go with the green for today. Another reason why I think I'm going to go with the green today is because I already have some of these pieces cut that I'm going to be using. And that'll just kind of save us a little bit of time as well. Okay. So here's the thing. You need 1 6-inch square. And then you're going to need, let's lay the sweatshirt over to the side for now, because we'll need that in a little bit. And then you're going to need some 3-inch squares, okay? So that's where another one of these handy dandy see-through rulers come in handy, is because it helps you to line them up and cut with a clean cut all the way down. Now, what I have done is I have, you want to make sure that you have a straight edge to begin with, okay? Now, this could be a blessing or it could be a curse by using lined, a lined pattern on this fabric, because sometimes they can be a real headache on making sure all of your lines are straight and matching and all the things. So what I'm going to do is to help speed that along and help that out is by just making sure I have a fresh, clean edge to start with, okay? And that will just start me off good from the get-go. And then I'll have another little scrap piece that I can add to my scrap pile. So you can see right here I have, well, I didn't quite get it all the way clean because I see a little bit of that cream line there. So let me just line up my ruler here one more time and trim that up. There we go. Look how easy that was. I always have a trash can right your legs. I have a trash can right down here by my feet for these little things, and I have to vacuum in here all the time. I will have a whole pile of threads and whatnot under my feet when I'm finished, even with the trash can. Okay, so this ruler is 3 inches wide. You can see that there's 1 inch, there's 2 inches, and there's 3 inches. So I know if I line this up and I cut straight down on one side and straight down on the other side, I'm going to have a whole length of 3-inch wide fabric ready to use so that I can cut it down into squares, okay? So I'm going to line my ruler up right here. I am going to stand up so that I can make sure that I can put pressure downward. And I want to make sure that all of my fabric is on my cutting mat, okay? Big detail there that you don't want to miss out. On your work surface, you don't want to cut through that fabric into your tabletop or whatever you're cutting on, okay? I am kind of getting a look to make sure that all of my lines on my fabric are kind of matched up somewhat. I don't have any areas pulled away, stretched or whatnot. I'm going to hold my hand upward, okay, away from, don't want my fingers in the path or the direction of where I'm cutting, okay? I'm not going to cut quite as much as I need. I just kind of want to show you my process of that because I already have pre-cut some of these squares and ready to go. But I do want to kind of show you because cutting is not my favorite part of the process. So if I can have any shortcuts, that's what I'm going to do. And I just kind of wanted to share that little shortcut method or maybe just a method to just kind of make it easier for you, okay? So there I have a 3-inch wide, and I didn't cut it straight. I can already tell. Let me look. This is another good way. And if you're on your cutting mat, you can kind of judge too. You can measure by just lining it up along the lines of your cutting mat. And yeah, I got way off. And I can also tell by the lines of my fabric. So hey, let's just line it back up and straighten it out. There we go. Now, I do think it's easier to cut on the right side of my ruler, and that's probably where I got a little off track, is because I was cutting on the left side of my ruler, because the blade on this rotary cutter, it didn't quite come right up to the edge, and that's where I got a little bit off, but that's a much cleaner cut. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I need to cut these into 3-inch squares. So once again, remember I told you the width of my ruler is 3 inches. So I'm going to just place it on the edge. We'll turn it this way. You can lay several layers of this fabric on top of each other and make one cut and cut several squares at one time. That's another, time saver tip right there. So I'm going to line this up on the edge. Let's make sure both of my edges are lined up. Okay, they are. Lay this on the edge of that fabric, and then I can cut right here. Okay, so with one cut, I have 2 squares. All right, I have not counted to see how many squares of these we're going to need, but I plan on making multiple shirts with this same pattern, so I'm just going to cut out several, and that way I'll have plenty. Now, if I'm really lucky, and I did not plan this, no, it wasn't quite. If I had planned the length to be a multiple of 3, I would have had an even number there instead of wasting fabric, but that's okay. We're not in this for perfection. Like I said, this is, I'm a beginner. And so I want to encourage you to do the same. And you'll learn things as you go by just jumping in and giving it a try. The first time you try it, it will take you longer. You will make mistakes. You will find things you'll wish you'd done differently for the second time. But guess what? You never would have known those things if you didn't jump in and just give it a go. Okay? Now, all of these squares that I just cut, I'm going to stack them. Okay? I want to stack them so that they're as even as possible. And we're going to make a diagonal cut. I've just stacked 3 right there. Okay? Now, from one corner to the opposite corner, I'm going to line my ruler up, okay, so that when I use my rotary cutter, I can cut on a diagonal, and when I do so, this is going to make some triangles, just like so. Do you see that? I have multiple triangles right there. We're going to need several of these triangles to frame out our centerpiece there. So you can see how that straight edge, this clear ruler, will help you in several different steps of the process. So I have a whole stack of these triangles now, okay? I did a little bit of pre-cutting before we were live today. I'm going to put my cutting mat down to the side. Let me see if you have any questions. I will take the very top of my fabric where they've cut and put a little slit on the side just to tear it across and get a straight line. That's a good line. That's a good tip too. I didn't want to start with my frayed edges though, because when I'm sewing, I need sort of that straight, clean cut to start with. Because I'm going to be stitching with my sewing machine pretty close to the edge, and if I had ripped that fabric, you would have a frayed edge. Let me just show you, and as an example here. So this is one of the sides that I do rip, because a lot of times you all see me tear my fabric more than anything, more than cutting for sure. But when you tear, you get that loose, you loosen up the fibers, the threads within that material. And when I would go to stitch through this, it wouldn't be a tight hold. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I elected to cut this time around rather than tearing. So thank you for bringing up that point, Lisa. What brand of rotary cutter? I'm using Fiskars, Laura. I think all of the scissors, the fabric scissors that I use are Fiskars. Fiskars are all on sale at Hobby Lobby this week, but you can buy whatever. As long as they're meant for sewing and fabric, you're fine, okay? It doesn't require anything super special other than just making sure it's, I'm going to need that, other than it's, meant for fabric and sewing, of course, okay? All right, so let's slide these over for just a moment. The next element that we're going to need is a piece of batting. If you don't know what batting is, I bet you know what a quilt is. And you know that quilts are thick, right? They're thick and they have a substantial feel to them, right? Well, that's because of the batting that's in between the layers of material. This is what makes quilts so cozy, if you will, and warm, is this batting that's in between the fabric layers. Now, the batting that I have is just some that I have in my stash. You can also use, like if you have just a solid colored felt, you can also use that, or flannel, you can use that as well. Just kind of, you can use several different options depending on what you have in your stash. It doesn't have to be batting is what I'm trying to say. Now, batting is really bad about wanting to like have everything stick to it. So all of the threads that it's come across on my work surface, they like are magnets to it. So you can take like a little lint roller or whatever and roll over it if you want to. It's not going to matter because this is not really even going to show much. It's going to give us the look that we want, but it's not going to show in the end, okay? Now, I could cut this down. I'm going to wait a minute before I cut it down, though. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set something with a little bit of weight. I'm going to set my little stapler up there to hold it on my table to keep it from sliding. Now, what I need to do is I'm going to take my pattern pieces, okay, and I'm going to start laying them out on top of my batting. Just like putting together a puzzle, this is my base here, okay? Now, I'm setting that square in the center, that 6-inch square, and then I'm going to be taking, this is where we're going to be using our 3-inch squares that we've cut into triangles, okay? Each corner of my square is going to get a little tall triangle on the top, okay? And you'll see how this works together. I cut off the corner on that one somehow. You'll see how these will frame each other out, okay? And I will zoom out here in just a little bit so you can get a look at the whole picture here. But it basically looks like, let me zoom out. Maybe? There we go. It basically, you're adding little, I think they look like little cat ears to the top of, or to the side, each side of your square. See where I'm going with this? And that's why I think it's important. Oh, Renee, you're so sweet. Like the marking on the scissors. Yes, exactly. I have to do that. Not only for myself. I put fabric only. I just took a Sharpie and wrote on that. Because, I've got, 4 other people in my house that, if they're looking for scissors, they might grab those. I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Those are for fabric only. Let's see. Wrong way. You're going to see where we get this super sweet little quilt star pattern right here. And if you've measured it, so if you do a different size square, okay, let's say you do an 8-inch square in the center, then these little pieces, your other squares are going to be half of that. So you would do 4-inch small squares and 8-inch big square. So I've done 6-inch big square. My small squares were 3-inch. You would use double or, half of the size. So if you make a bigger size quilt star pattern, that's how you would size it, okay? Now, let me just say, I am not going to go for the full, true quilted process of this. This is sort of like an applique, okay? A process of appliquing shapes onto a fabric. I'm not going to sew each of these pieces together just like I would if I were sewing a quilt piece, okay? This is sort of to mimic the quilt look without all of the methods, if you will, of quilting. This is a good mix of quilting and appliquing, if you will. All right, so at this point, let's see how many small squares I used. I would just need 4. Because each side, these triangles, you put these together, this makes up one small square. So there's the count. I knew at the beginning I hadn't counted yet, but that makes sense. So a square has 4 sides, so you would need 4 small squares and 1 large square. Okay, depending on, you know. And you can mix and match your colors of your fabric too. If you wanted to mix and match and use different colors for your star points, you could totally do that, okay? Now, here's where the tricky part comes in. I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going, let me stand up. I don't want to move this too much. I'm going to cut this down a little bit so that I don't have so much of this hanging off the edge of my table. It will be a little bit more manageable for me. So I'm just going to cut a big square around what I have laid out here, okay? Now, I hope y'all are along for the ride, okay? I'm being your guinea pig here. Now, listen, you know, I told you that this is beginner friendly. It is beginner friendly, but beginners have to have the guts to try something. Or else you'll never know if you could do it or not. You'll always be like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or I want to do that one day. Well, guess what? Your one day is here right now. Give it a go. Otherwise, you're never going to know. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to take my straight pins, okay? Thank you, Miss Sissa. Hi, Miss Shannon. Hi, Miss Irma. Jackie, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. You too, sweetheart. Thank you, Miss Glenda. Listen, I'm just teaching you as if, I don't know if I'm teaching you or just talking myself through it. You know, it just helps when you have a support team to kind of root you on too, right? So that's the way I look at it. Now, you've got several options here. You could straight pin each one of these pieces down to your batting, okay? And by straight pinning, what I mean is you're just taking one of these straight pins, okay? And you're sticking it through both pieces of material that you have there and coming back up and sticking it through the other side so that it stays put, okay? It's holding it there for you, basically. Another option, some of you may have other things to use. Another option is if you have some Wonder Under, like an iron-on adhesive. You could do that as well. You could iron on, put adhesive on the back of these little fabric pieces and then iron it on to the batting. Then you could put this on the back of your batting and iron it onto your shirt and it's glued there, right? You could do that. There's also, let me grab something else I have back here. There's also another product. I've never used it. I have it in my stash because I've been meaning to use it one day. Is you would spray this on the back of your fabric or onto the front of your batting. You would spray it. It's almost like a spray glue, a spray adhesive. Spray it down and then stick your pieces on there, and that would give you a temporary hold while you're waiting to stitch everything down. Okay, so there's multiple options here. I'm just going old school and I'm going to pin it down. I'm just going to pin it down. That's what I'm going for. Okay. For one, it's a little bit faster. So for me, time-wise, that's what I'm going to do. And I don't have the room in here to bring an iron and my ironing mat in here right now. But I'm going to, when I get all my sewing table reorganized, I'm bringing in new furniture. My sewing table is sitting out in the driveway right now. It was not sitting out necessarily out, but it's in it's waiting in the driveway right now to be brought in. I'm so excited. It was delivered this morning, and it's in a box trailer just waiting to come in. So excited to get a new, bigger table in here to do all the things. So, ooh, that was a little tough to stick through. Now, you just want to make sure, and I will say, I think my preferred method would be probably to use that spray adhesive or the Wonder Under, because this does want to kind of crawl. We're just gonna see. Yes, that does. Nancy, good tip, because some of the spray adhesives will gunk up your needle, okay? This is a special sewing glue spray, okay? It does say that it will not gum up your sewing needles, okay? So you can't just use any spray glue, all right? You want a sewing, something that's specialized for sewing or quilting. This is called a basting spray. This was from Hobby Lobby. It's not cheap. It's basically $12. I'm sure I got it on sale or I wouldn't have bought it. But it's for sewing purposes, okay? So good tip. Thank you for mentioning that. All right. I'm putting a pin in each point of my star. Thank you, Miss Natalie. You use the spray adhesive too, Cindy. Cindy's a great one to, she's always giving some great sewing projects too sometimes. She doesn't sew much on her live videos. You should do that more, Miss Cindy. I have a super neat little phone pocket wristlet that she made that I bought at one of her live sales, and it's so nice, so nice. Okay, now this is where you have several options here, okay? Like I said, we are not stitching these together like we would if we were truly quilting this star together. What this is sort of like my way of thinking, this is almost like if you've seen a rag quilt, the edges will fray and it gets a little fuzzy on the sides. That's the look that this will have, okay? If you don't like that look, then if you're a quilter, you know what you would do. You would stitch together all of your points to your center square before you do this next step. I'm not doing that today. I'm going to try this first, see how I like it, and for future shirts, I may do something different. Now, let's pull out Lady Singer here. I usually use white thread for all of my projects. Well, today is a different story because my white thread is not going to look as pretty on these plaid fabric points, okay? What I am going to do, I am going to use my white thread to go around, to stitch around my large square. I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to change out the top color of my thread, okay? So that it will match. I'll probably go for like I don't have a whole lot of colors. I have red. I'll probably use a red. Should I use a red around that too? I don't have a red bobbin. Y'all might get a whole bobbin threading lesson too. Should I go with red around? I think I'm just going to go with white on this because there's so much white around that I feel like white would look best. So let's start with this center square first. Let's make sure all my machine is threaded and ready to go. So I'm just going to make sure my pressure foot is up, and I'm going to slide this under, okay? And I'm going to start down here on the bottom. And I can't tell you how important it is to have good lighting, especially when you're sewing. So I have one of these little bendable armed lamps that I can maneuver and twist to bring light under this. Now, all sewing machines typically have a light under here, but it's just enough. It's just barely enough. You know, you need more. So let me get my pedal down here. Okay, so this, let me get something to point it out. The edge of this square, okay, is going to follow along. Let me zoom in real close for you. Gosh, it's a little dark right there for y'all, isn't it? Okay, let me get this. I want to make sure you all can see this. I need to go this way with it. Let's zoom in. Oop, let's zoom in even more. All right. And let me bring it. Goodness. This is tricky, but I will take the time to do this because you've got to see how this really works out. All right. This will work. So we've got the edge of the fabric. I'm going to follow it with the edge of my presser foot when I'm stitching, okay? So I'm just going to line it up where I kind of want to start. Right there. It's matching up right with the edge. And I'm going to press down my presser foot. And you can see when I did that, that pushed everything down. It's ready to hold my piece down to the batting, okay? Now when I start stitching, I want to back stitch a couple of times and then go forward as normal, okay? And that will lock in my stitches. All right, so I'm going to press my backer button, my back reverse button. It's up here on the top. Press that down before I ever start stitching, okay? 1, 2, 3. All right. Now we're ready to smooth sail right on. And I'm going to go around all 4 sides of my square. If you follow that edge, you'll be just fine. Whenever you're sailing along with this, you want to make sure that you're avoiding any of your needles, your straight pins that you have on there, okay? And then I'm going to get close to that corner and make sure my needle's down. Raise my presser foot, and I'm going to spin it around this direction. Lower that presser foot, and we're ready to go down this side. So see, I have this straight pin right here. I need to make sure that this straight pin is not going to get under my presser foot when I get close to it. So we'll watch that as we get closer. And I am going to speed along right through here. I'm good. I'm barely going to clear it, but we're good. I'm going to speed along through this because I do want to make sure that we do get this done today. We've got just we've got 13 minutes. So I'm going to speed along. You all can watch as I go. I'm not going to talk a whole lot through these next few steps. Make sure that you don't get wrinkles as you're going. Stop with my needle down into the fabric and then rotate it. And I'm back to the side where I started, so I'm going to make sure that I stitch down to where I exactly started. And then I'm going to back stitch a few times to lock those in. Raise my needle, and I'm going to pull it out. Okay? Cut your fabric or your thread tails there on the front, and then there'll have a tail on the back too that you have to cut loose. Okay? So I have my square down, and so I can take those straight pins out of the square only. Okay, now I need to change my thread color on the top first, just on the top. I don't have to change the color on the bottom, so that'll help us with time. This is a new bobbin of thread. Okay, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put that at the top of my machine. Y'all want to watch me rethread it? That's probably a good tip or a good thing to watch, especially if you're a newbie. I'm going to put this on. I like to put mine right here. Yours might, I have a vertical one as well, but I just prefer this one. Go under the little loop, go under, I don't know all the technical terms for this, but you'll have numbers on your machine that will show you and guide you exactly where to take your thread. And this has a self threading needle, which makes all the difference in the world. so that you're not straining your eyes to thread that needle. And look how quick we changed the color of our top thread. And we're good to go. We're good to go. All right, so now I'm going to stitch around all of these triangles. I'm going to go pretty quick. I do have to watch and make sure that that I don't sew over my needle, my straight pins, okay? Once I sew around all of these triangles, we're going to cut this big shape around the edges of this. Why is this not going under? There we go. All right, let's start over here. Got to watch your straight pins. Start with your needle down and go. Start with your needle down, spin it around, and you're ready to go. You're going to do this 8 times for all 8 points of your star. So this will probably be the most time-consuming part of your sewing process, okay? But if you're patient, it'll be just fine. You don't have to go super fast. Just take your time and you're good. Now you're going to see here where I'm going to have a little bit of a border in between my shapes, okay? Because I did not quilt together my pieces here. So I'm going to have some fraying. Now, if that bothers you, what I would recommend you to do is to take your triangles and overlap them over the edge of your square, okay? And I might do that on my next one. See, that's what I'm saying. You will learn as you go. But if you don't ever try it, you're never going to know what you like and what you don't like. So that's why you got to give it a go. Make the first one for yourself and learn. And it could be that you might find a different way that works better for you. Like I said, there is no right or wrong way to do it. There's tons of different ways to do it. So just have fun with it. That's really what we're going with here. Until I have a little bit heavier duty thread on, and it's wanting to be cranky with me, like it may not be threaded, may come unthreaded. All right, sailing right along here. I'm going to get that one a little bit closer. Now, if I could have had already some of these pre-stitched, but I really want you to see the process. Hearing a little bit of noise, which I think we may have to rethread. We may have to rethread here in a minute. We'll see. Thread our needle down, spin it. We're going. Back stitch when you start and when you stop. Cut those threads. Ready to go to the next triangle. We're getting them down. And you can see where the edges are going to curl. And that, not sure if I like that, but I think over time they will fray more than they will curl. But that will also be where you can decide if you want to stitch those pieces together or not. I can already tell I'm going to be probably doing a second version of this with a little bit different method, just to see if I like the method better. And that's okay. Let me take this straight pin out because it's going to get in the way. Needle down. We have 4 more to go of these little triangles. So let's see if we can speed through these. You can also use a zigzag stitch around the edges of these, and that would you know, keep your edges down all the way to the edge, is what I'm trying to say. There would be no fraying, no curling, no lifting if you do a zigzag stitch. Now, if you do the zigzag stitch, you'll want to be, part of your stitch will go into the fabric, and part of your stitch would go into, you know, the outer side of the fabric. When I put this onto my sweatshirt, I will probably, now that I've kind of seen what this looks like, I will probably use a zigzag stitch around the edges to attach it to my sweatshirt, and that will help hold it down, this entire shape. It will hold it down to my sweatshirt better. And what I will probably do at that point, when you do the zigzag stitch, you want to go around the entire shape twice to make sure that it holds it down to your shirt. Now, I told you in the beginning, I have never made one of these, but I have watched enough videos to know that they all say that. If you do the zigzag stitch, go around it twice to make sure that it holds it down securely. One round of zigzag stitching, over time, those threads may break, but they will probably come loose at some point. So if you double zigzag it, you're much better to keep it intact, okay? Now, if you don't get this step perfect, that's okay, because you're fixing to, the next phase is you're going to stitch this down to the sweatshirt itself. So you're going to have another round of stitching, is what I'm trying to say, that will hold it for you as well. So don't stress too much about getting it absolutely perfect. And like I said, if you're striving for perfection, it's not going to get there. You'll know, it will prevent you from doing all the things. So here's what we have 2 minutes. So here's what I'm gonna show you, because 2 minutes is not going to be enough time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the scissors and we're going to cut around the entire star pattern, okay? We're going to cut it out. Do you see where I'm going with this? We're going to cut it out all the way around. And then what we're going to do is, at that point, we're going to take this cutout piece and we're going to attach it to the sweatshirt. So let me cut right here. Now I have 3 pieces that I still, 3 corners, 3 points that I still have to stitch down. So I'm not going to cut out completely, but I do want to show you what to do next before I sign off today. Now remember, Santa's Workshop themed craft shows all day today. I think all the way up until maybe like 10 o'clock tonight, possibly. You can catch them all. The information is in my video description, okay? So that you can watch them all day long. You'll get lots of ideas, okay? Lots and lots of ideas. So I'm going to take this sweatshirt. We have 1 minute left. I'm going to show you so that when you're making one of these, you know what to do next. You would cut all the way around. You're going to have this piece, okay? Lay your sweatshirt. You're going to put something in between the layers of your sweatshirt, okay? You're going to take some time to lay this out and get this lined up. You're going to take your star, ignore all the white that I have on here, the batting. You're going to line this up so that it's centered, and then you're going to take this to your sewing machine, and you're only going to stitch through the front of your sweatshirt. Be careful that you don't just take this whole shirt and plop the whole thing under your sewing machine and go for it, because you will stitch the front and the back of your shirt together, okay? You only want to stitch through the front layer of your shirt. So I'm going to zigzag all the way around the edges twice around the star, and it will be finished, okay? So I'm going to keep working on this while I'm watching the rest of the shows today. And when I get it finished, I'll put it on for size. I'll try it on, and I'll share a photo with you. How about that? I hope that you enjoy this. I hope you'll give it a try. Don't be scared. Go into it, jump into it, and learn, okay? Don't expect your first project to be perfect. Mine's not perfect. Yours probably won't be either. That's okay. Take something and learn something different for the next time you make yours, okay? I'll see you again soon. Enjoy your weekend.